Okay, welcome back, bacteriophage hunters, to week 3 of 3-phase streak. This is our last week of streaking, so I hope you're excited for a new protocol to come in and maybe a little bit sad to see this streaking protocol go. She was really fun, but we're going to move on after this week. So again, lab manual pages are 33 to 34 and then 105 through 109, same ones, nothing's changed. So follow along with that. So let's just go over very quickly lab notebook stuff, okay? Make sure you're still taking photos of your streak plate. So this week, when you come into Open Lab, your streak 2 plates with plaques will be ready. So make sure you're taking photos of those, uploading them into your lab notebook, just so we can trace a history of your phage from the first plaque in wherever the streak came from whatever direct isolation you came from, into its last streak. We want to make sure that we're seeing a similar morphology or maybe a different morphology, making sure we're measuring the plaques between each streak to understand what size they are. Are they consistent sizes? Are they consistently clear? Are they consistently opaque? Do you see a mixture? You know, what's really going on in there? And then make sure that you're taking not only photos of plates that you're borrowing from, but also getting their location information. There's been a lot of like swapperoos this week in terms of someone's sample didn't work, so they borrowed either from one of our backups for our fellow students or a fellow student that they gave us as a backup. Make sure you're getting that location information for that sample. Any information on lab backups that we have prepared for you, we've uploaded a file onto Carmen under lab resources that can give you with like numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It gives you the location information for those particular samples. So if you're not getting photos or you're not writing down that information in Open Lab, make sure you're going onto Carmen, you're getting that information, inputting it into your lab notebook. Do it like sooner rather than later. You're gonna forget if you put it off until like the week after or something like that. So just get it done. It's very quick. So in this week, in terms of the protocol, it's identical. The plaque that you want to pick for this streak is going to be one that's well isolated. If you're finding that your plate with your streaks, it's very light, there's a lot of plaques, but they're very close together, try to get one that's not touching other ones, even if it's not as isolated as you would like. Ideally, one that's not touching another one is best in that situation. Again, it doesn't have to be from your third streak area, kind of like this circled one is. As long as it's isolated, then that works well. So again, protocol is the same. I'm just going to go over it to, again, make sure we're all on the same page coming into Open Lab this week. So you're going to label your plates on the auger side. You're going to draw your T-shape or your pie shape, and then making sure you're putting your name, the date, any information on what sample it is. So this is streak number 3. All identifying information goes on the auger side. You're going to pick your plaque. You're going to circle it. Make sure you write your initials on the auger side. Again, you're going to take a photo, and this is going to go into your lab notebook. Very key. You're going to gently touch the center of the plaque, again, with a fresh, sterile wooden stick that you're working around in your aseptic zone. And then you're going to streak it onto your plate. So let's watch this just so we can get familiar with it in case we're forgetting things every week. So once you've picked your plaque, you're going to streak it into your first area, keeping those streaks very tight. Notice how gentle I'm being with the streaking. You can see the line on the auger, but you're not seeing any like deep digs into it, okay? Be gentle. These are microorganisms. Second streak, a fresh stick. You're going to dive into that first section a little bit and then widen your streaks out into your second. Then with a new stick again, you're going to streak into that second section down into your third, and then widen that streak out. Remember to put an X or a dot or just some indicator that shows you this is where my last streak was. This is the most diluted area, so you know where to pour your top auger. With top auger, again, same volumes. You're going to use your sterile 5 milliliter, serological pipette. You're going to aseptically transfer 3 milliliters of top auger into your culture tube. That's going to have the 250 microliters of bacteria. And then you're going to immediately plate it. No wait time. Immediately plate it onto your petri dish. Make sure when you're getting your bacteria that you're really shaking it up well. If you see a little orange pellet at the bottom, that's bacteria. You want it in the solution. You don't want it at the bottom. So make sure you really shake it up. And again, just so we're all remembering this. We are not swirling our Petri dishes to move that agar. We are tilting it. If you're finding that there's a little bit of section in your plate that just has like a little area that will not be covered by the top agar, just won't go there, it's better to just leave that alone than it is to swirl it such that you get rid of that entire dilution that we just did, okay? So you win some, you lose some kind of situation. So how will streaking work? Same logistics. You're gonna have one plaque that you'll pick, you'll circle it, you'll take a photo, and you're gonna do 2 streak plates from that one plaque, okay? If you are for some reason working with your own samples that were different, you know, you had one soil sample from one Taco Bell and one soil sample from a different Taco Bell across the city, they both working really well, you're just gonna do 1 streak plate per sample. And again, if you didn't get any plaques, or you were in quarantine and you maybe never got a chance to do any streaking to begin with, we're just gonna give you another plaque backup plate for you to streak. So someone's streak 2 plate will serve as your plate that you will streak onto 2 different plates, right? You're gonna pick 1 plaque and do it onto 2 plates. And then make sure you get that location information. Very key. So important aspects to remember. This has not changed over the last 2 weeks, but I really want to make sure we're emphasizing these. You're going to pick an isolated plaque, very important. You need to circle it, you need to write your initials, you need to take a photo. You make sure you're getting a fresh stick with each streak. Make sure you're careful with the stick. Again, they're wooden, you don't want to put them directly into the flames. You're going to pour your top agar bacteria solution immediately. I'm still seeing some people, you know, lingering with that. Immediately plate it. You're going to be pouring that solution onto the agar, the top agar, not the lid. And again, don't be aggressive with that agar. Be very gentle. These are microorganisms. Even if you think you're not being hard enough to get them on there, I promise you are. I promise. And then let's get rid of some of these bad habits. Again, you guys did a fantastic job last week that I noticed in terms of being better with our aseptic technique, but just some reminders. So we're always keeping this in the back of our mind. Make sure you're not placing the caps of any bottles, so like the top agar bottle, Petri dish lids, tube caps, anything on your lab bench, right? Again, that is a lot of bacteria around it, leads to contamination. We did see quite a bit of contamination last week, so probably because of these bad aseptic technique habits. So we're gonna really make sure we get rid of them, especially for things that are communal. So the top agar bottles, the bacteria bottles, they are communal. So if you are contaminating them when you're using them, you're contaminating them for everyone. So keep that in mind. Again, you're gonna pour your top agar immediately. Make sure you're working near the flame. I see a lot of people having the flame on and they think they're near it, but you gotta be able to feel that heat. If you don't feel the heat, you gotta work closer, okay? And make sure you're watching your flame also. Don't leave it unattended for large periods of time. If you're not using it immediately, like within like the next 5 or 10 minutes, you can turn it off and then turn it back on. You don't need to leave it running while you wait for something. And then make sure that if you're noticing any sort of leakage, any leakage that's on fire, you're letting one of the TAs know. And then continue to practice your good aseptic technique, okay? We build on this in this class, so hopefully we're getting better and better at it. Something that's a little bit different this week that we wanna make sure you're aware of is we're gonna be doing a pipetting proficiency check. So this is in your syllabus, so shouldn't be a big surprise. But basically, we're just going to be doing a little check to make sure you are pipetting correctly, that you understand basics of pipetting. It's going to be conducted in Open Lab by the Open Lab TA, whoever is there. It's only worth 5 points, but it's going to be essentially an assessment of accurate pipetting technique. Hopefully, you already mastered it these last few weeks, that you should be able to do splendid on this. But we are checking it at this point in the semester, because moving forward, we get to a little bit more complex techniques and protocols that really require you to be accurate with your pipetting. Certain volumes need to be precise when we do protocols like DNA extraction and restriction enzyme digest. They need to be very, very precise. Adding too little, too much can really mess up your protocol. So we really want to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. It shouldn't take a long period of time. Just make sure you get that done at some point when you're in Open Lab before you leave, okay? And again, Open Lab this week will only take 1 hour. So make sure you're signing up for 1 hour of the Open Lab time session as early as you can, so you can make sure you get whatever time slot you need. And then feel free to reach out to me or your TA if you have any additional questions about anything. Okay, I believe in you guys this week. We can do it. Streak 3. Yes.